What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to GTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to see that daily Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell as well if you want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video. Now, in this video today, going over the start of Baltimore Ravens training camp, at least for the rookies, that is. It takes about a week or so before the veterans start showing up, and then eventually there will be the open practices for fans to attend. So, if any of you guys are going, I personally am not going because I live in Oregon. But if anybody's going, it's always cool. Joshua may be going and stuff like that. So, overall, it's a very exciting time. We're getting ready for preseason and then getting ready for the start of the season, especially with all of the expectations for the Baltimore Ravens players that are returning from injury. The Ravens have so many guys that are coming back: Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, Marcus Peters, Gus Edwards, honestly, even guys like Justice Hill. All of them are coming back, and we're going to be able to see, what we have. But in this video, I'm going to be talking about the key rookies to be paying attention to. Now, obviously, this isn't, it's not going to be able to be watched by Ravens fans. However, we do get to hear about, hey, this guy's been playing really well, interviews with the coach and all those things. Keep an eye out on certain names, and I'm going to be going over the names to keep an eye out for. And if somehow any of you get to go to a rookie practice, then keep an eye out for them there as well. But obviously, the first name that I got to throw out there is Kyle Hamilton. Now, not just because he is the Ravens' first draft pick, but because he's in an intriguing position in this depth chart. The Baltimore Ravens currently have two proven safeties, veteran safeties on their roster. They gave a massive contract to Marcus Williams, and then they have Chuck Clark. So, the Ravens draft Kyle Hamilton. Where does he fit into that mix? If he is able to play very well and practice very well and look ready to go from day one, it could mean major things for Chuck Clark. Because if Kyle Hamilton is playing at a level where the Ravens see, hey, maybe we don't need Chuck Clark. Maybe if we are given the right trade offer, we can offload him, which would also free up some cap space for the Ravens to make other moves because they don't even have $1 million in cap space right now. So, if Kyle Hamilton is playing very well, and they're saying, oh, wow, he really knows the playbook. He's been having the mic, or they've been talking about, hey, yeah, this guy's had the mic. Maybe Chuck Clark's on the outs. But in contrast, if they're saying, Kyle Hamilton, he's working on it. He's getting there. Maybe he's not dominating, and that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying if he's not coming out playing, to the level that, maybe he could be if he plays perfect, maybe then we look at it like, hey, Chuck Clark's staying, at least for the first part of the season, as Kyle Hamilton is gathering that footing. So overall, Kyle Hamilton is a key part of this defense because if he's playing extremely well, that has major implications on the rest of this defense because the guy he's replacing is the guy that's had the green dot for the last few seasons. That's huge. But I don't want to make this entire video about Kyle Hamilton. So there's other players that I think that, should be looked at. First one is Travis Jones. When we finally start to get to see the pads getting on, Travis Jones is going to be able to be truly analyzed. How is he performing against offensive linemen? How is he performing next to the other Ravens defensive linemen? He is a player that I'm very excited for. And he's in a competition with a couple of other players. Justin Madubuike, obviously, Broderick Washington, Michael Pierce. There's a lot of interior defensive linemen. Even Calais Campbell sometimes plays on the interior. So seeing what we have in him, seeing what we have in Travis Jones, because if he is a player that shows because he's losing weight so that he can become more of a pass rushing threat as a defensive lineman, more closer to a Chris Jones than a prototypical Brandon Williams. If he's able to show, hey, he can get in, but he can also stop the run, how necessary is Michael Pierce to the Baltimore Ravens? Because Madubuike can stop the run. Calais Campbell can stop the run. If Travis Jones is showing, hey, he can, yes, he's a pass rush specialist, but he can be a big body and he can clog up the hole. That's major implications right there. The Ravens gave a good contract to Michael Pierce. We'll see what happens with that. But Travis Jones is a player to keep an eye out for because he has instant potential to be a rotational piece. A lot of guys that get picked up in the 3rd round, the 4th round, they don't really have a chance of, playing impact minutes or impact snaps from day one. Travis Jones is one of those players because of what he brings in his skill set and what the Ravens need. So paying attention to him, I think, is very important. The final player that I'm going to bring up, actually, I'm going to bring up 2 more players. I'm going to bring up Charlie Kohler. I think Charlie Kohler is the most intriguing tight end the Ravens have on the roster because I think we know what we're getting out of Isaiah Likely. We know he's going to be a good pass catcher. That's known. I think Isaiah Likely has a good chance of getting out onto the field early. But Charlie Kohler is a player coming out of Iowa State, and tight ends in college football typically aren't asked to block. So you really have to project, we think this guy's going to be able to be a good blocker, and you really go off size and strength. Charlie Kohler has perfect size, perfect strength to be a good, well-balanced tight end in the NFL. Honestly, he could be a great balanced tight end in the NFL. He can find the soft spot in the zone. He has soft hands, and he has the frame to be a great blocker. If he's able to put that into, get it off the paper and get it onto the field, he could be a player that's, the number 2 tight end in the Ravens offense because you can put him out on every play, which is different from an Isaiah Likely who he's not a player that you will throw at the end of the line. He's not a player that you will be putting out there to block. You play in the AFC North. You're going against Myles Garrett. You're going against TJ Watt. And I know there's controversy right now with Myles Garrett getting into the 99 club in Madden and TJ Watt 96 overall. But you play against those guys. You got Trey Hendrickson in Cincinnati. There's a ton of players that the Baltimore Ravens have to go against. If you're going against them, you do not want Isaiah Likely on that line. They will ruin him. He's small. He's stocky, he's strong, but he does not have the size to be able to match up against them. Charlie Kohler is 6'6", with big, strong shoulders and arms. He's a player where you can at least throw out there and hope that if he develops the right way, can block like Nick Boyle. He's got the frame similar to George Kittle. He is not George Kittle, though. Do not misinterpret what I am saying. But when players like George Kittle, Nick Boyle are able, Delaney Walker a while back, those are players that can block because they have the size to be able to block. Smaller tight ends, they struggle with it. Darren Waller, yes, he's big. He's about 6'6", 6'7". He's thin. Makes it hard for him to block. He's not a blocker. Charlie Kohler could be a guy to pay attention to because he could be a blocker. A true blocker and has the ability, to catch the football. The final player is Tyler Beatty. There's other guys. I don't want to leave out the cornerbacks and Jordan Stout, Tyler Linderbaum, all those players. Pay attention to all of them. But I'm just kind of trying to highlight the players that I think are the most interesting to watch, or at least are in the most interesting spots. Tyler Beatty is coming into a packed running back room. And now he's seen as a potential return specialist, potential, pass catching, third down running back, get him in space, gadget type of player. Well, he's coming into an offense that has Devin Duvernay as the return specialist, gadget guy. Now, does Devin Duvernay take a step up? Hopefully. Hopefully he gets into that wide receiver role. He's also coming into the running back group with J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, Mike Davis, and the undrafted running backs that the Ravens have. They have a lot of them. They always do. So we're going to see that competition. And can he separate himself with his skill set, which is different from the other Ravens players, because that's why Justice Hill's been here. Yes, he's been a special teams, gunner and things like that. But overall, Justice Hill was drafted by the Baltimore Ravens to be a pass catcher, to be able to get him the ball in space and have him make plays. He hasn't been that guy. Now, he's been all right because of his special teams, skills. But if Tyler Beatty can come out and really catch the ball and really be explosive in space, he could take that spot. And J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards last season, the entire offseason, all that was talked about was their improvements to the pass-catching game. J.K. Dobbins was a little bit about fumbling. But that was the focus. we're working on our hands, because in the playoff game that the Baltimore Ravens lost, there were some key drops from J.K. Dobbins and from really the rest of the entire Ravens offense. But they want to make sure that they could catch the ball. Then they ended up having the leg injuries, so they weren't able to really showcase it. But if they're improved, Tyler Beatty has to be that much better to be able to get playing time on the field. And I think it'll be really interesting to see him, returning kicks, returning punts, and then also just, as that pass catcher. I think it'll be really interesting. I think he's, kind of the last guy that I'm really looking at and that I'm really excited for. He was a player that I had really looked into prior to the draft and had scouted, and I really liked him as a potential player, not just for the Baltimore Ravens, but for any team in the NFL looking for a playmaker, an explosive playmaker coming out of the SEC with great quickness. But let me know what you guys are most looking forward to. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Subscribe for Daily Ravens content, and I'll see all of you again tomorrow.